Welcome everybody, and today we're taking a look at a new cinematography limited edition release. Cinematography being one of the sub-labels of Vinegar Syndrome, and it is 1973's Badge 373. So this is directed by Howard W. Koch, who I've seen a couple of 1950s film noirs from before, likes of Shield for Murder and Big House USA. So this is a neo-noir crime action thriller that clocks in at 116 minutes long. Stars the likes of Robert Duvall, who I've seen in 30 other films before. Favourites being the likes of Apocalypse Now, Bullet, The Chase, Open Range, Geronimo, An American Legend, Deep Impact, and Falling Down, which will be getting a 4K release of its own from our video later this year. You've also got Werner Bloom, who was in The Hired Hand and High Plains Drifter, Henry Darrow, who was in The Hitcher and The Last of the Finest, and finally Eddie Egan, who was also in The French Connection. So, yeah, sorry, just getting the J card for this film. Forgot to get it out. So yeah, following the death of his partner, brash NYPD cop Eddie Ryan swears vengeance, going on a violent quest through the streets of the 1970s New York City to find his assailants. His methods are hostile and racist, and since he has long been sacked from the police after killing a suspect, this renders him a vigilante hell-bent on justice. Ryan's pursuit of Take No Prisoners fury puts him in the crosshairs of drug kingpins and revolutionaries, not to mention the very department that he was once a part of. So, like with the French Connection, this is inspired by the time Eddie Egan spent as part of the NYPD. He also stars in this film, just like he did in the French Connection. But unlike that film, this is far darker in tone and has a much less likable lead. Now, not sort of to say that French Connection didn't have its darker moments. Obviously, it ends on quite a downbeat ending, which this also does. But that said, this also takes a more personal approach to its plot, with Ryan's colleague of 3 years being killed and there being a romance element. Unfortunately, this is also massively let down by not just having a generally unlikable lead, but also because of Ryan's racism towards Puerto Ricans, which, yeah, I just don't find any excuse for, to be honest, because we have had other, plenty of other 70s, gritty cop films that haven't been in that kind of manner before. Um, the Seven Ups as well, which I'm pretty sure was also based on the life and times of Eddie Egan and the NYPD. Had none of that. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they had to lean so far into this. But thankfully, the rest of this is the way that this is executed makes this all more than watchable. As the cinematography is great, the score is well done, the pacing is on point, New York looks suitably grimy and gritty. There is an entertaining chase scene involving a bus and several chasing vehicles, which also has a lot of passengers on it, by the way, the bus. It is engaging throughout, and there is some effective tension. I also like the fact that because obviously um, Eddie Ryan has been sacked from the police force. He has no backup, no partner. He doesn't even have a gun for a good half of the film or thereabouts. So yeah, that also adds some tension and some kind of grounded realism to it as well, because he's not going around gunning people down. The only weapon he seems to ever have for a good portion of this is a tire iron. So yeah, on the whole, a really solid effort. Gets 3.5 out of 5. But yeah, it's nowhere near as good as the French Connection. And obviously it's way more problematic than that film and the likes of the Seven Ups, and say I would say even the likes of the Dirty Harry films from the 70s as well. Um, but regardless of that, this is still a really nice release. Now it's not had a 4K disc, but it has had a 4K restoration, and I really like the new artwork we've got going on. And as per usual, it has a little tag here, so you can get the booklet out easily enough, and you've got nice enough reversible sleeve artwork as well, or hard box artwork, I should say, because it is obviously a hard box. And like all the cinematography releases, this comes in a media book kind of style release as well. So you have the write-ups on the booklet in here as well as the disc. So you have in here Crazy Eddie by Mark Ashk. Not sure if that's the only write-up or not. Doesn't seem to be, no. Then you have The Soiled Shield, Eddie Egan and Badge 373 by Paul Carup. And throughout this, you obviously have shots from the film as well. Then you have Badge 373, A Jammed Up Cop by A.S. Hammer. And then you have The Gotham Connection, the New York cop movie of the 1970s by Justin Liliberty. So yeah, this was apparently not only a box office flop, especially compared to the French Connection, but also not particularly well received critically either. You can kind of see why, because it's not taking the easy way in terms of depicting such a a cop in this kind of situation and such. But you know, I feel like it's more than able to do its own thing, and that is Eddie Egan himself. Not sure who that is. Could be the director. But yeah, still, I think it's done does a worthwhile enough of a job. And in terms of the technical specs, so it's a new 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative with the original mono theatrical soundtrack as well. Region A only Blu-ray, 185:1 aspect ratio, and there are subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing if you so need them. And in terms of extras, you've got a new audio commentary by film historian Steve Mitchell, a kernel of truth, a new video interview with retired NYPD detective Randy Jurgensen, friend of Eddie Egan and technical advisor on the film. You got police film protection, a new video conversation between Jason Bailey, author of Fun City Cinema New York City, and movies that made it, and cinematography's Justin the Liberty. Craftsman Kingmaker, Howard W. Koch, and the Art of Getting It Done, a new video essay by Daniel Kramer, new text essays by Mark Ash. That's just about the what's in the book. So yeah, but those essays look fairly in depth as well, to be honest. And yeah, on the whole, a really solid effort, and I feel like it looks as good as it does now because of the 4K restoration. Whether or not it looked much substantially worse in prior releases, if it has had a Blu-ray release in the past or not, I'm not sure, but it does look really superb with this 4K restoration. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a shame that we didn't get the actual 4K disc to go along with that restoration to just make it even better. But what we do have here is great enough, and I think the film itself is perfectly solid. It's not great by any means. You will find better cop films from the 70s. Dirty Harry, French Connection. I'd even say the 7 Ups is probably better than this as well. But on the whole, still well worth seeing. And yeah, if you're into these kind of grimy, gritty cop thrillers from the 70s, then this should hopefully be right up your alley. Nonetheless, though, if you have seen Bad 373 before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.